Good afternoon. So my name is Valerie Arnould. I'm the Deputy Director of Digital Revenue Network at WAN-IFRA. And I would like to welcome you to this third edition of our Changemakers webinar series. It's a series we started to introduce some of our members working on very innovative solutions, and we thought it would be great to take some time and discover a little more in depth what they're doing. So today, to give a very broad overview, we will discover different ways in which artificial intelligence can be applied to increase audience engagement and enhance the work of newsrooms. That's very broad description. We have a very dense program to cover in 1 hour, so I will just start with a couple of information. Amanda, if you don't mind. So yes, we have our first in-person event at the start of June in Oslo. If you're interested in reader revenue strategies, this is a place to be. There's still some place left if you would like to come. And if you're interested in what's happening in the African, in digital media in the African continent, sorry, then you are very welcome to join us for our Digital Media Africa conference. And all the information, of course, are on our WAN-IFRA.org website. So you will be able to ask questions to our speakers of today at the end of the session after they do their presentation, and you can use the Q&A box, and you can also chat with the other attendees using the chat box. All right, so without further delay, I would like to hand over to our first speaker, Thomas Tezel, who is Head of Sales for Media at Froomle, based in Belgium. So we're going to have Belgium, then we go to Germany, and then we'll finish with Toronto with Viafoura. So Thomas, let us understand better what Froomle does.
Sure, thank you, Valerie. Thank you for this introduction. I will be sharing my screen to introduce you to Froomle. First of all, very happy to be featured in this Changemakers webinar. Because that is indeed what we do. We change the way news publishers distribute content online. So I'm Thomas indeed. I'm heading the sales team here at Froomle. And together with our customers, we are creating personalized experiences for news publishers by using our artificial intelligence. Froomle started in 2016 as a spin-off from University of Antwerp in Belgium. And Froomle is based on 2 decades of research on recommender systems with companies like Apple, Netflix, already using these techniques for a very long time. And we launched that company because we realized that only these tech giants were using that capability, while others were missing the benefits of it. 6 years later, here we are. We now serve more than 100 million recommendations every day across 4 different continents and covering many different use cases of personalization with our recommendation modules that I will talk about later. We also managed to prove consistently the benefits of personalization versus other distribution means like manual selections or any other automatic selection. So the mission of Froomle is really to bring that smart personalization to any news publisher from any size. This is not limited to big publishers, to big players. What we do at Froomle, basically, we are connected with your content management, so we know what you're publishing every day. And we also know who is connecting to your different touch points. So we will look at the reading history of every reader individually. We'll look at what articles they've been reading with you in the past, and we will be able to tell you in real time which articles to promote for that reader specifically. You can then use these recommendations and present them the way you want on your platform on different positions with different rules. But bear in mind that the design, the style will remain your own. We will only take the selection step on our behalf. The recommendations will be based on a few algorithms, and one that we use the most is called collaborative filtering. It's actually the one that Netflix invented 20 years ago, and it will really look at what people like you are reading. So we work a lot with similarity in behavior between different readers. The advantage of collaborative filtering when applied well is that it will be self-learning. So the more you read, the more we start to know you. It will also not be dependent to language, so we can very easily deploy this across different languages. It can also be deployed across formats, so it can be used for written articles, for video content, for podcasts. If you're doing that, it is very flexible. On top of collaborative filtering, we will apply some other techniques, looking at, for example, what is being popular at the moment, whether the user has seen that recommendation already or not, whether an article is very good at generating subscription. All these signals will be taken into account when computing the final recommendation list. And on top of that algorithmic computation, you can apply your own editorial configuration to tell our models, for example, the articles you do not want to see as a recommendation, or any constraints you have on the category you want to see, or if you want to have at least one paid article. All these editorial guidelines will be taken into account in the final recommendation list. So that combination of an algorithmic computation and your editorial configuration will give what we call a final module, right? And we've been working, as I said, on more than 20 recommendation modules that will really serve a very specific use case. So you can see some of them on the screen. As you can see, we can propose modules focusing on engagement, making sure people read more, discover new content. We also have modules using your own content to bring people to your paywall, because we are following the industry. We know that subscription is very important, and we are confident that your content is the best tool you have to convince your readers on taking a subscription. We also have retention modules that you can use on newsletters or push notification, for example, to bring people back to your website. Of course, we know that the more your subscribers will consume your content, the more likely they are to renew their subscription, of course. Right? So with all these different modules, the idea for you is to create these experiences on your different pages or platforms by combining modules to propose articles from different angles to your readers. And as you can see, this is applicable for websites, for mobile apps, for notifications, for newsletters, any digital channel. A few examples maybe to give you some color on what we do. You know, on the Telegraaf, this is the largest digital newspaper in the Netherlands. They have about 30 million page views every day, to give you an idea. They decided to show Froomle recommendations at the very top of their homepage. So very visible position, but blended in all the other articles that they have. So it's not a dedicated box. We managed to increase the click-through rate of these recommendations versus a manual selection by 35% on their mobile website, by 25% on their desktop website, right? So you really see the impact. What we also achieved is to show more, or at least more diverse content on their homepage, right? Because our AI will very dynamically pick up new articles, we doubled the amount of different articles that were presented on their homepage. So it is also a tool to distribute the traffic across different articles and to activate the long tail of content that you have. Another use case here with a smaller publisher, Medienhaus in Germany. They have 150,000 pages daily, and they were truly focusing on media time. So that is their North Star metric, as they call it. With a continue reading module that we placed below on their article page, we managed to increase that media time by 5% in only 30 days. So you see that people, when they interact with these personal recommendations, they tend to spend more time on your digital channels. Another interesting use case here around subscriptions and conversions. So we are here with Il Secolo in Italy. They decided to use our payroll recommendation module, and they now show 3 paid articles right below the paywall. So the idea is really to show their prospects the value of their subscription. What's in it for them if they take the subscription? Well, they could access these 3 amazing articles, right? So again, using your content to generate subscription and to convince your readers. 2 more examples, one on newsletters, because we really believe that it's a very interesting position or platform for personalization, not only because it will increase CTR again, it will also decrease the manual workload of generating these newsletters. This customer in Belgium wanted to use Froomle for their weekly newsletter because, yeah, over the weekend, they had not sufficient staff to actually maintain these newsletters. So it's also a way to automate your workflow. You can see again the results in terms of click-through rate and in terms of diversity. A last use case on push notification. We received that customer having the problem of not being able to push non-breaking news articles. So of course, breaking news, it's very easy to push through notification. Everybody will be interested in it. But more niche article might frustrate the users because they actually don't really care about these topics. So they're now using Froomle to push these smaller articles to the right audience. We tell them which readers should receive that notification so that click-through rate will increase and people opting out of notification will decrease. So again, a smarter way of using the content that you produce and to make sure that all the time you spend in writing beautiful content, so to speak, will meet the correct audience. So that's really the philosophy behind Froomle. We want to help you optimizing every touch point you have with your reader with a glimpse of personalization so that every reader will feel unique when they interact with your platform. And that is, I think, my introduction. I hope I'm on time, Valerie. I also want to say that we're very pleased to be welcome here today. Valerie, we like to be very close to these communities. So thanks again, WAN-IFRA, for inviting us. You have some references here on the screen of customers, happy customers trusting us. And I hope we can connect with many more soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. So yes, I was just thinking when you were talking. So you're not only working for publishers, you do that for other kind of clients as well, right?
It is mainly for news publishers and some other media companies, but we're focusing on media, yes.
On media company. Okay, thank you, Thomas. So we'll come back to I have some questions for you, but let's hear and thank you for respecting the time. So we have time for questions after that. So now we're going to Germany via UK because Axel is talking from UK, and so he's going to present his startup, Journexx, that I discovered recently, actually. And it's a trading platform for content and was launched last year, I think. You're really starting business this year, right, Axel?
That is correct, yes. Can you hear me well?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for inviting us. Yes, I'm here to present you Journexx. And we think we have a very unique offering and solution for you. We were actually thinking about a basic problem. I come from a publisher's family, so this is pretty common among us. Let's say you are a newspaper or a magazine in a place, in a small place called Viafoura in Gloucestershire, which has 20,000 inhabitants, and you publish a really good article on a Thursday, and this is it. Like, you have published it, maybe you sold some advertisements with it, and that is the lifetime of this article. It's over. And we thought, is this story really ending there? Because there's another person who is coming from Gloucestershire and is making a lot more money. And this is this woman who has sold more than 500 million books until now. Why is she monetizing her content in a totally different way? Well, because she gets her content translated into many languages, and she is published and republished in many countries. And we thought, why are the newspapers and magazines are not doing the same? And then you might say, okay, but if I'm a newspaper from Yate in Gloucestershire, do I have the content that is interesting to anybody else in the world? Well, let's say you have a magazine, and maybe 8 years ago, you made an article about volcanoes. And for some reason, you picked a special volcano, which has a very special name. It's a complicated name, and I think even over the years, nobody has really learned this name. But what we know is that this volcano, and maybe the article about the volcano was interesting, but not like super interesting for the 8 years. But now one day, this volcano breaks out, and it's really grounding the Northern Hemisphere for, I think it was about 3 months. So in this moment, everybody from the Washington Post to a newspaper in Mongolia needs content. What is this volcano? What is it all about? Now, coming back to, you had this article 8 years ago, and you're probably the only one. So on this day, you can probably sell this kind of content again and again. You could license this. If you only had a platform where you could license this content because it's available there, you can look for it, and you can license it in a really easy way. And because there is not only for the volcano, which has a really hard name, or for things like Olaf Scholz, who's Olaf Scholz, to what is happening to the Great Barrier Reef, there's always global interest for quality journalism. Maybe not any day, but someday. And the problem about all publishers is that they don't have global distribution. How should they do it? We technically would have a global audience for that, but we have no translation. I mean, the German content, it's really hard. How do you do this? And we might have global demand. But the people cannot find this kind of content. So we created a solution for this. And these are the 4 Journexx founders, and we didn't translate it. Guten Tag, this is the founders team of Journexx. And we created the first, what we call stock exchange for content, which means that you really standardize content as a kind of commodity, which can be traded. And this is how it works. We will get into this shortly. Let me just at least try to. We can just jump quickly into the platform. Hope you can still see my screen. So Journexx is a purely B2B platform from publishers for publishers. When you enter, you have a world of knowledge all around the content that you offer and that you can buy. So there's things like, is your content, the content that you have uploaded on Journexx, to be traded all over the world? How is it correlating to current content trends on social media, on other sources, whether you sell your content and where you can see that, again, here, trend indicators from all over the world. You can edit, watch, disable your content. You can choose where it should be sold, where it shouldn't be sold. The buyers on the other side, no matter what language you are uploading it to, they see this in their language, meaning that if I'm a German publisher and I'm looking, for example, for something about agriculture robots, this content comes from France or the US, I'm seeing it here in my language. So what happens then, and these are the obstacles to marketability in the past. You upload the content, you can offer it here, and there is an automatic translation which helps you. It's pretty good, but it just helps you to understand whether this content is great for your paper. You have a price, and I will get to this a little bit more. We created the first price index that is based on trends that exists for content. Like even platforms like Getty don't have that. So this price is calculated not only based on the volume of the article or the current content trends, like the volcano, the volcano article might have been cheap in any other day where it wasn't interesting, and it's going to get more expensive because it's in demand on the days that this is a top trending topic. But the price algorithm also ensures marketability, meaning that it's calculated by each buyer, whether you are the Washington Post or the Neue Zürcher Zeitung, or you are a newspaper in Nigeria. The price is adapted to your buying power. So this is really like kind of a smart syndication system which works for everyone. This is what we have created here with Journexx, and let me just switch to my presentation. So what we are offering is easy import and distribution. We have a keyword system which allows for the keywords that you have, but we do our own artificial intelligence, keywording and indexing. We embed the automatic translation, and we offer the easy transaction and the licensing. And as I said, as in syndication, it's a very interesting question. How much should your content be worth? We have an answer for this with our price algorithm. And as I said, the price algorithm has a lot of different factors: the trend, the volume, actually the paper that is publishing, and also the paper that or the online magazine that is buying the content. So this in summary is Journexx as a trading platform for any publisher who has archive content, recent content, and wants to sell this content outside their own distribution, because Journexx works like this, that it automatically excludes your own distribution. So if you are a paper in Yates or Gloucestershire, or you are a national newspaper in the UK or in France, it automatically excludes that and leaves you to sell the content to the other 270 countries that you could be selling to. And it's a very easy process that I've described to you right now in simply, but there's also a video in which we explain the onboarding. What I should add is that Journexx is free for publishers, so there's no subscription or regular fees or anything. It's entirely commission-based. The licensing and syndication has like a global terms and conditions, which was hard to do, but I think we made it. So it's really possible to also respect the copyrights and the licensing between the countries. You remain owner of your content at any time. And we think it is a great source of quality content that was not accessible before. And so I ask all I want to encourage all the publishers to register and start selling their content. And thank you very much. I hope I hit the time correctly.
You are perfect, Axel. Thank you, because it was quite a challenge. I think I'm looking forward
Thank you very much.
for the question time, because I have some questions for you as well. Thank you, Axel. So let's go to Toronto now, and be very, so I see. Yes, so now we're going to talk to our colleagues from Viafoura, Shengqing, well, I knew I was not going to say it properly, Shengqing Wu, sorry, and Mark Zohar. So I think it's Mark starting.
Yes.
And disclosure, I love your commenting function. I don't know if you're going to talk about that, but I think the commenting, how you moderate and the comments and all that is really needed. So I don't know if it's part of the presentation.
Yes.
It's great.
Great, thank you for that. And great to hear the previous presentations. I think we're all trying to help publishers in these times to, really succeed and drive outcomes for them. So I'm Mark Zohar, President and CEO of Viafoura, and with me today is Shengqing Wu, our Director of Data and Analytics. Just a little bit about ourselves. Viafoura, really our goal is to help publishers deeply engage, understand, and activate their audience. And we do that by delivering rich, interactive, highly personalized digital experiences on their owned and operated properties to help drive some of these outcomes you see here below. Drive registrations, moving users from an unknown to a known state, driving retention by more deeply understanding the audience and bringing them back through re-engagement models, and increasing revenue through not only greater page view consumption, but also other monetization opportunities like higher targeted and better targeted advertising on site, again, based on deeply understanding that audience. We work with over 800 global brands. Some of them you can see here. We actually share some customers with Froomle. I think Getty is one of our customers, so it would be good to talk offline, Thomas. But yeah, we're very proud of our customers, and our goal is really to be a highly strategic partner to them, driving their core goals of registration, subscription, and monetization. Our digital experience platform is comprised of a number of elements, beginning with our engagement suite. So these are engagement products that include things like live Q&A and Ask Me Anything's on site. We believe that a lot of the behaviors that publishers' audiences experience on social media should be available on their own sites. Why should Reddit or Twitter or Instagram own that audience and have those experiences? And so we want to enable those type of experiences on site because, frankly, the audience expects that. One of the things we deeply believe is that the days of passive content consumption on publisher or media sites are over. Audiences want to have interaction. They want to build community. They want to follow other members of the community. They want to get real-time events. And a lot of that is what we're helping to enable. So whether that's live Q&A, conversations, real-time conversations on site, or things like live blogs to manage real-time events. Around that, we have a core personalization solutions that include things like content recommendations. We'll talk a little bit about that. Personalized feeds like you would see on Facebook or Instagram, where all of your recommendations, notifications, people you follow, events you should be aware of are displayed for you both on site and through other channels. and things like custom follows, the ability to follow specific content on site and receive personalized updates. Around that, we have our core moderation platform. Again, uses deep AI to understand context, semantic structure, to ensure civil, brand safe experiences on site, because once you open up the ability to have user-generated content on your site, you need to ensure brand safety, civility, and so on. And finally, all of this creates huge data exhaust, as I like to call it. We understand deeply not only contextual information, behavioral information, clickstream data, but also declarative data, what people are saying, how they're saying, sentiment, and so on. And we build a range of data products, including personas, cohorts, first-party data user profiles. And we make sure we enable that both for our customers through APIs and potentially their data partners. So if they have a DMP or a customer data platform, we want to enrich the value of that data investment. We believe that artificial intelligence, some of the personalization features that even Thomas spoke about, really helps to optimize the user journey. So when we talk to customers today, the biggest challenge they have is, how do I move my massive anonymous unknown audience into a known, registered, and ultimately subscribed state? And we believe that engagement is a key stage in that funnel. Moving from 0 to 1, asking an unknown user to convert to a paywall is very difficult. But by creating this engagement interval stage, we can get them deeper into the funnel, have them spend more time on site, generate more insights about them, and drive them towards that next registered state. And we know, for example, that an engaged user has around 15x the propensity to register than an anonymous user. So we're creating these engagement options on site that drive registrations. Now, once you get registration, that's not enough. You do have an email address which you can use, but we really want to deeply know that user. Then we use our machine learning models and our NLP to understand their interests, their sentiment, their preferences, propensities, purchase intent even, and we develop these rich user profiles that are real-time and dynamic, that for every single user, you can understand their user journey and exactly their interest graph and sentiment around specific topics and issues. And that ultimately drives towards a better propensity to subscribe and retention. So I'm going to pass it off to Shengqing to go into a bit more detail on our specific AI capabilities.
Great, thanks, Mark. So as Mark mentioned about the user journeys and some of the Viafoura product suites, from there we collect tons of user behavioral data, click streams, and also PGCs and UGCs, so newsroom published articles, and user-generated content through comments, live blogs, and live chats. So there are lots of contextual information that for us to really study and analyze. So from there, we leverage ML, machine learning, as well as NLP, natural language processing, to extract from our very valuable contextual information for topics, entity, taxonomy, sentiment, and etc. And from there, we also help on building, social and community-driven features that help, our clients' business impacts. So we also build moderation algorithm to really build very healthy community features as well. So from there, when we combine all those contextual informations, like what we extracted from NLP, we further, train them through propensity models and supervised, unsupervised learning and deep learnings, and as very, very rich and enriched contextual features to really inform our models for recommender engines or segment buildings. And we then use these models to further make our NLP outcomes to be even more advanced. So that's the AI capabilities. Back to you, Mark.
Yeah, and just to talk about our content moderation solutions that are, again, driven by a deep AI that includes NLP and real semantic understanding. One of the things that we want to ensure for newsrooms and publishers is that, again, they have safety, civility, and that the interactions on their site are compliant with their community guidelines. Our AI moderation solution, which comprises both of technology and human moderation where necessary, to create better self-learning. One of the things it does is it looks at 6.5 million variations of a single root word to ensure that to deal with obfuscation, camouflage, and so on. So it may surprise you that every single word, at least in English, can have 6.5 million variations for obfuscation. That's the first thing we look at. Then we look at semantic and sentence structure. So for example, if a user uses the term snowflake to describe the weather or skiing, that's fine. But if the user refers to someone else in the community as a snowflake, we can detect that that's a personal attack. We tag that as a personal attack, and that comment will automatically be rejected or tagged for further review. So it's really ensuring that, great deep level of understanding of user behavior and user sentiment. And it is customized for every single publisher. Not every publisher has the same community guidelines in terms of freedom of speech and what is appropriate for their site. So for example, sports site may allow for more vulgarity just in terms of fan engagement. It is not a one size fits all. We really work to customize that algorithm for every single publisher. In terms of the business impact that we have with our customers with regard to not only AI, but what we deliver, really about helping them with their content strategy, topic and engagement understanding to drive content recommendations, personalized experiences. So everyone's experience is personalized to their interest, their content needs, as well as their community experiences. And then ultimately driving real business outcomes by using our platform, both AI, personalization, and our community aspects to drive higher yielding ad revenue and subscription revenue, again, by deeply understanding that audience and their motivations, preferences, and interests. Some key business outcomes for some of our customers. Graham Media Group, based out of the US, has seen significant efficiencies and growth in terms of the resources or the lack of resources they need for moderation. And they've seen significantly growth in their lifetime value of customers leveraging our platform. Reach PLC out of the UK, the largest digital publisher in the UK, again, has seen tremendous outcomes by leveraging our platform, seen massive growth in engagement across their user base, huge growth in community involvement, and on the back end of it, a massive understanding of the deep interest of their users, which they're now using our data to inform both churn management, retention, and ultimately subscription revenues as they go into that model. Over to you, Shengqing.
Great. So we want to give you a very brief idea of how Viafoura data flows and how we apply it to solve business problems such as personalized recommendations. So as we mentioned, we collect different data around click streams, user-generated content, various contextual informations. We typically deal with a real-time as well as batch data processing. We build different data pipelines that to take pre and post processing and ETLs that turn data from the raw event-based transactional data into things like user profile, feature engineering, where we flow this data into our data lake for activations. From there, we focus on really common repeatable kind of processes and data data sets and features for different various data scientists to reuse and to compute and develop different algorithms. And from the activation, we also have different options such as APIs, different data export through S3 or SFTPs, as well as integration with different systems such as GAM CDPs or DMPs, and that will basically lead to our one of our services such as personalized recommendation and providing the experiences from that. So one of the other examples that we would like to share with you is the audience builder that we help our clients with. So what this shows is a very user friendly and easy to use UI, where our client will get in and be able to slice and dice and configure different features and dimensions, and to create a unique segment that tailors specifically for their needs. And from the backend, it will trigger our data processing jobs, and we will return that back to the system and connect it with the clients again, whether it's GAM, CDPs, or DMPs, to basically perform the user segment targeting.
So just to kind of give an example of this, and one of the things I want to kind of stress is we do, like many other companies, contextual understanding of user behavior based on reading behavior and page generated content. But in addition to that, we also have declarative data. Again, what they're saying, how they're saying, what they're following. And that ultimately is a much higher signal for various reasons, including for intent. And so through a combination of both contextual or page generated content, as well as declarative or user generated content, we can create these audience segments on the fly for our customers. So for example, and again, using our NLP and AI models to look at an audience and say, hey, a publisher is interested or an advertiser is interested in identifying audiences that have a high interest in baseball at a topic level. At an entity level, it's the Blue Jays, since we're in Toronto. And we want to make sure that they also have a positive sentiment towards either the entity, the topic, or something else. And so what this allows our customers to do is now to really create custom audiences based on behaviors on their owned and operated sites, both, as I said, contextual, declarative, and use these segments for advertising activation, marketing activation, as well as content decision-making. So a lot of the work our customers are starting to do is take this data for newsletter curation and targeting as well. So that's a lot of what we focus on, is really understanding audiences, engaging that audience deeply to create more data, more consumption of content, more consumption of community, and through our NLP and AI models to deliver that back to our customers to create not only personalization on site, but deep audience insights they can use to achieve their monetization goals around advertising and marketing activation. So yeah, that's a brief view of what we do, and happy to take questions, and thank you again for inviting us.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, all of you. Okay, let's start with the question. I was thinking, listening to Thomas and you guys from Viafoura, that it seemed to me like sort of complementary solutions. Like Thomas, you really take care of the regular users, you make them consume and stay. And Mark, you grab the unknown, irregular users, and you try to create habit for them. Or that's that not understand well, or
I would agree with that, Valerie, indeed. If I can start, Mark, sorry about that. I also see them as complementary indeed. I think the great value of Viafoura is indeed to generate other kinds of data, declarative data, as Mark explained. And these are very interesting data to then fuel the personalization engine. We are indeed focusing on personalization recommendation for anonymous and regular users, but truly focusing on that aspect.
But you need, Thomas, you need a certain form of you need, sorry, the user to be regular user to learn to know them and what their habits are, right?
Sure.
I mean, the
the more they read, the more we know them. Yeah, but you can start with very little information. You can explore interest, and then the more you explore, the more you learn about the user. But you're right, the more they read, the more we know them. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a very good point. The one thing that I like to stress a lot is in the media, and especially the publisher space, there is a deep ecosystem of partners and vendors and solutions. And our goal is not to displace or replace something, is to really augment and enrich whatever investment our publishers have made. So we're not going to displace a customer data platform or a CMS system, or even companies like Zephyr who do user journeys, or Froomle. So we want to serve the customer, which is our publisher customer. If our data can help enrich their investment in Froomle or anyone else, that's great. And to your point, one of the things that Viafoura has lots of evidence to support is that as we engage users on site, their page view consumption grows significantly. So our active engaged users can grow their page view consumption by 10 to 50x, depending how deep they go. And that just helps Froomle because they're spending more time on reading content, and it feeds their engine as well as ours. So yeah, very much complementary. And as I said, we do have some joint customers that we can take offline as well.
All right. So to continue with you, Mark, if I'm a publisher, I can take some of the modules, like the real-time content moderation, the Q&As, the things. Can I plug that to my existing system?
Correct. It's very modular. So if you want to pick and choose or grow with us, that's exactly how our system is set up, to allow users, to our customers, to choose whichever components or modules they want and then grow into it. The benefit, though, of the platform is that all those modules are connected from a data perspective as well as personalization. So that's exactly correct.
So I was thinking to another thing, listening to you, is that, you know, we have this big problem, because I mean, subscription is a big part of our business as publishers, of course, but now we have this problem with advertising now, and I'm thinking you're creating, you know, quite specific profiles, quite specific segments, and I'm just wondering, is that a way to sort of, you know, because we won't have any more third-party cookies or all these kind of things, that a way to form groups that could be useful for the advertising business as well? Do you? That
is top of mind for every publisher right now. So the deprecation of third-party cookies means that every publisher, frankly, every digital owner, property owner in the world, needs to have a more direct relationship with their audience and build first-party data segments and deep understanding of their users. And I think the benefit of that for publishers, there's a lot of, frankly, there's a lot of fear and challenges with third-party cookie deprecation. The flip side of that is, if publishers create these premium audiences with a deeply known user base, they're going to be in a much better position over time. They're going to have more leverage over advertisers. So advertisers want to buy custom audience that are known, that have specific traits, and that have deep value. An anonymous user segment doesn't have that. A known segment does. So we're trying to build more known segments. And to your point, that will help with advertising yield and create premium solutions for publishers and market.
Thomas, you agree? I guess you have the same issue with your clients.
Yes, I strongly agree with Mark. We only rely on first-party cookies at the moment, first-party data. So, I mean, we will not be impacted by the deprecation of third-party cookies. But I can only agree with Mark. I mean, you need to rely on first-party data. It is what it is.
Okay. Let's ask something to Axel. Axel, as a publisher, I feel your solution is very, very interesting, but I'm not super happy with the automatic translation. I'm not sure about the quality of that, and I'm wondering who control where I'm published. You know, I don't know, if I'd say it or Le Monde. I think this is great. I finally have a distribution platform, but I don't want to be in you know, in some publication where I would never want my articles or my brand to be published.
Yeah.
So how do I?
Yes. It's not the first time that we hear this question. So, but let's talk about translation first. You know, the most important thing is when you, like in the morning, you wake up as a publisher and understand that Olaf Scholz is the candidate for a chancellor in Germany, and you have never heard of this person before. All you want as an editor-in-chief is not buy the Reuters content, because everybody would publish that, and that would actually, with all the data and AI that we've been talking about, it would actually depreciate your value because your uniqueness is important. So what you want is an article from the Zeit or from the Süddeutsche or from the Frankfurter, which you in French can read. And reading doesn't mean that we are selling automatic translation. So The automatic translation is for you as a preview tool so that you can decide quickly, okay, I like this article from the site. It fits my volume, it fits the tone, it fits the kind of perspective that I have. This is what I'm going to buy. Do I translate it myself? Am I a big paper? Do I call a translation service? Or, and this leads me to the third aspect about automatic translation. Am I going to use some of that? That is your choice. I know that people are very skeptical already, but we have been spending with the startup, it's by chance a German spin-off of a university, DeepL. It is scary.
Very good.
It is scary how good it is.
Yes, it is.
Scary to the, well, yeah, it's scary to the point that it changes. Like if you have a sarcastic or ironic English term, then it would actually, it's so smart that it in French, it would be a completely different term. So it uses that term. Not always. We still find mistakes, but I'm just saying it's just scary how good it is. So these are the three aspects of the translation issue. The next question you were asking about is about the.
Yeah, I want to control. I want to have the possibility to say no to a publication because I don't want to be in this publication.
Exactly. So if you can choose, like, first of all, our onboarding is not automatic. So we actually check the papers. So there's a certain kind of publishing houses or online media that they call themselves online media or journalism. We have a definition of journalism built in, and actually we only accept association members, but we also check the people. This is the first barrier. The second barrier is that you exclude all the countries. We just recently had a conversation with a publisher who's very concerned about seeing content in North Korea. Well, I don't know how many publishing houses of North Korea will actually buy content from a German liberal newspaper, but let's just say this can be excluded. So it can be excluded by country, by language, and it will also be able to exclude individual publishers, just to make sure there is a certain paper or magazines where you don't want to see your content. You can also go the other way around, which I recommend the publishers right now. Why don't you just click everything, you exclude everything, and for the beginning you just say, I only want to sell to Switzerland, Austria, and some countries that I know, and some papers that I feel comfortable with. This is your start. And you go more and more wider as you feel safe about it. I hope that answered your question.
No, sure, it does. The other question I had is okay, when you buy content, you know, there are the graphics, the photo, and often the photo on different markets. So do you sell just the articles or the package?
Good. Yeah, it's also a question that we get often. So the image, there is a whole ecosystem of licensing images, and we encourage whoever has original photographs, which are not many anymore actually, to license that over Getty, and we kind of provide the corresponding links. We want to remain at the first stage as a content text trading platform, also because copyright and licensing laws and regulations are very different. But we always want to display the corresponding content, and eventually we will offer licensing the article over Journexx. And even if there is a third party involved or Getty or something, that you kind of one-click it. But this is a little bit in perspective for the next 2 years.
Okay. And there was a question from Dietmar, and of course, what percentage do you take? So Dietmar, if I got that right, Journexx model is you take a percentage of the
Commission.
payment, the commission, right?
So, as you can see, it's a lot of work because we are instead establishing three things that didn't exist before: global terms and conditions, price algorithm, and a lot of other stuff. We made a system which we hope everybody considers fair. So far, our first clients consider it fair. It's 15% for for all the content that is younger than 1 month, because in this period we want the publishers to make the most of the money. It's 30% from 1 month to a year, and everything that's older than a year we take 45%. Simply because people wouldn't probably be able to sell it in the way that we do it, because we haven't talked about this now, but we also do curation. If you have a travel magazine and you register to Journexx, you get the travel content or the things that you want to see, and you get offered, and you get always the trend indexes. So actually, as a publisher, you can also choose by the current trending topics. So it's between 15 and 45%.
I see a big potential for your platform for the B2B publishers, or scientific publication, or these kind of things where there's like a big demand for expertise. So that, I don't know if you're exploring this area as well, but that could be interesting.
Yeah. We are talking. Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, so we are talking to a variety of magazines and newspapers. Sometimes I feel what I'm wondering about, our platform is free, safe, and B2B. And actually, it's a little bit the game of, if you have 1,000 articles and you upload them, and I was talking about the volcano effect. And that's exactly it. Like, people should be uploading, waiting a little bit, because not every archive content will sell every day. But on the other hand, if you have something like this, then you really recoup a lot of money out of what is actually lying around on your cloud and your hard drives right now. And it's rather creating costs than actually creating revenue.
Okay. I have, thank you, Axel. I have another question for Thomas and Mark. It's the evolution of the privacy rules in the market, and how you think it could or not affect you in the future, because it's still an evolving landscape, and because you are operating on international markets, and that the legal things are changing. So how is it evolving for you? Do you foresee in the future to have to implement new things? Or Thomas, you want to start, because you're in Europe, so it's a tougher market.
Yeah, sure. So indeed, that was my my answer. Maybe we're based in Europe. We're used to GDPR. We have experience in dealing with very strict privacy regulations. I think we always need to think about the user. What is good for the user? Are we intruding his or her privacy? When you work with these kind of tools, you always need to think about the user and make sure you give value to the user. At that moment, I mean, you respect their privacy. So yeah, I do not see any big change in the future that would dramatically change the way we provide value to them.
Mark?
Yeah, I would just add, from our perspective, we are all about, it all centers around user consent. And so our model is, it's based on user consent. Consent management platforms are a key part of the model here, and ensuring that the data that any vendor, including the publisher, is based on that initial consent and legitimate use. So yes, although we're based in Canada, we have customers in Europe and UK, all over the world, and we are GDPR compliant. We do have DPAs, And as I said, we really focus first on the user consent model. And I think if you abide by that, then you should be fine.
Thank you, Mark. So on that final remark, I'd like to thank all of you, to remind the participants that we will send you the recording and the presentations. And I'm really looking forward to meet you in person, Thomas, Axel, Mark, and Shengqing, in one of our conferences in Europe or somewhere. And I wish you good luck for the next weeks, and thank you very much again. And I hope to see all of you in another Changemaker conference, probably in the fall now. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Valerie.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.